So this is what would be considered a sharp sometimes. There's also other needles and syringes that would be considered sharps as well. But this is most likely what you're going to see. They all pose a risk. So if you do come across a sharps while you're out, there's a couple different equipment that you can have to use. Heavy duty gloves is always recommended. So just want to put on your gloves. And you can also use, we have a grabber here. If you don't have a grabber, you can use pliers or tongs. Just want to make sure if you are using pliers or tongs that you do have gloves, just in case it slips. So when you do see a sharps, you want to get your sharps container. Your container can be any kind of hard plastic container with a lid, a screw top lid, so it can be a laundry detergent, a bleach container. Just want to make sure it's a tough plastic. They usually have the label on the bottom, number 2 HDPE. If you don't have a hard plastic container, you can use a Pepsi bottle, a Coke bottle, something like that. If you don't have one, but it's highly recommended that you do have a hard plastic container. So when you do come across the sharps, you'd like to place your sharps container beside it on the ground and then pick it up using your grabber or tongs and put it needle end down. So if this was an uncapped syringe, you just want to minimize the risk of being stuck. So you put it needle end down. And then once you have your sharps in your container, go ahead and close it. And then you can keep this until it's almost full. We recommend not letting it get more full than about 1 inch on the top, leave about 1 inch space. And make sure it's labeled. Put sharps container, do not recycle, syringes, do not recycle, something like that. And then when it is full, you can tighten the lid and wrap it with a hard tape, like a duct tape or something like that. And then you can either dispose of it in your home trash, or you can take it to the health department, and we have kiosks outside that you can dispose of it in there. So once you are done with your sharps, picking it up, make sure you take your gloves off and wash your hands thoroughly, just because there could be some residues on the sharps as well. If you don't have tongs or a grabber or anything like that, it's highly recommended that you do use heavy duty gloves. If you have another pair of gloves that are puncture resistant, they do sell some of those. You can put them over top of these gloves, and then you can pick up the sharps as well that way. Say you don't have a grabber, you find the sharps. To put on these gloves, and you would want to put on your other pair of gloves over these, the thinner pair that would go over, but make sure they are puncture resistant. And you would pick up the sharps and put it needle end down into the container. If the cap is missing, you don't ever want to break that needle off. Just leave it in there and go needle end down into the container. If you are accidentally stuck, it's highly recommended that you go and get medical attention as soon as possible.